meeting. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee. It's Thursday, March 19th, 2026. This meeting is being audio recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah, since our meeting is not being recorded and we don't have a full quorum, this is an informational meeting that Old Colony is going to present us. So we have our superintendent, Mr. Aaron Polanski, business manager, Sarah Griffith.
Shirley Burke.
Shirley Burke, I should remember that.
And Nancy Souza.
And Nancy Souza. Okay, so welcome everyone.
Thank you.
And whoever wants to speak first?
Sure, I can start and I'll pass the torch at some point.
Okay,
Thank you for having us this evening.
absolutely.
We appreciate the opportunity to present the budget to you along with some enrollment information that always drives the budget.
Yes.
We always like to state our mission before we start, and we always come prepared. So we have the presentation in printed form, just in case the tech wasn't agreeing with us. And tonight, due to the tech issues, I'll apologize to folks at home, but we will make this available to anyone who would like a copy. We could send a digital copy to the FinCom members, and they could share it out if they'd like.
Sure.
But our mission is to prepare and support students for the global demands of society and the workforce through rigorous vocational, technical, and academic courses. This foundation is established within a safe environment that values students' interests, needs, and diversity, fostering responsible, productive citizens in our community. And the next page that we will share with you is just a copy of our admissions trends. And those are admissions trends that run from 2018 through 2026 to date. And what you'll see is the date on the left-hand side that shows the year of each piece of data. The second column shows you the number of applications received and the number of students accepted, with a percentage to the right of that, and that's the percentage of acceptances. So you could see a peak in 2025 with 53 of 79 students accepted, and you can see this year with the introduction of the lottery. Currently, to date, we have 43 students from Acushnet out of 98 that applied who will be attending, and that's about a 44% acceptance rate. To the right, you can see that broken down in graph format. From 2018 to 2023, if you were to draw a line through that graph, you'd see a peak in terms of the number of applications. And then you'd see a little bit of a dip and a spike again this year with the lottery. So the lottery is something that was mandated by the state. We did not have a choice in how that operated other than to be able to create allocations by town to ensure that no town would be inundated by an overdraw. And we were very adamant that that had to happen, because if you were to draw 150 students from one particular town, the inequities that would result would be a fiscal disaster. So I share that with you. Our total enrollment for FY27, which is the upcoming, our total enrollment trend for FY27 for the upcoming budget is 207 students from Acushnet, and for FY26 it was 194 students, and that's shown under the word admissions trends on this graph that we've shared with you. Move to the next page, and forgive me, I'm flipping through staples. The FY27 budget is a level service budget. The FY27 budget consists of a 4.8% increase, of which 1.1% is attributed to insurance increases, and 2.26% is due to instructional salary increases. Our major increases are attributed to the following: insurance increases of approximately 9.45% for active employees and 12.9% for retirees, a conservative placeholder for contractual obligations, future planning. We're entering the final year of a 5+2 year bus transportation contract, and we feel that's a very important piece to share with you. Our budget preparation begins in the fall. It's fine-tuned with the release of the governor's state budget proposal, Her recommendations were released recently, and Old Colony did not see major increases in Chapter 70 funding. We've shared our recommendations as part of a draft budget and met with representatives from our member towns during 2 meetings that took place, one in February and another in March. Our March meeting had representatives from every town. Unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, we did not have every member town at our February meeting, which is why we scheduled the second meeting. We always ensure that we sit with everyone to get feedback. We're mindful of the challenges faced by all of our member towns, and we appreciate the cooperation that goes into this budget. We've provided a breakdown of every single line in the budget, and that has been given to you in packet form. I want to thank Sarah Griffith for the work that she does, because what she does creates a clear picture for anyone to really delve into the budget and break down line by line exactly what's happening at Old Colony. Furthermore, Sarah has worked very, very adeptly in looking at our insurance situation, and a few years ago had us switch insurances to ensure that we wouldn't be part of what we felt was a program that wasn't operating in a way that was going to be beneficial for us in the long run. Sarah's decision to make that move resulted in some really beneficial fiscal outcomes, but we continue to look at this as part of the work that we do because of the landscape, not only at the state level, but federally. So I'll turn it over to Sarah, or I'll turn it over to the FinCom, because if you have questions or if you'd like further explanation around anything, we'd be more than happy to address that for you.
My only question, I'm just curious on the lottery, how does that, like, how does that happen? Like, is it like a bingo thing? Is it at night that all the names are pulled out?
That's a great
Or is
question.
it televised, really, is what?
It's a digital lottery. So there's a program where a button is pressed and literally the numbers are spit out. We have no names in the lottery, so every student has a number, and then every number receives a lottery number.
Does that happen on a specific date?
Yeah, so it happened on March 3rd at 3 o'clock, and it was put online so that people could see it as it was happening. Yeah, and there's still a recording online if people want to go back and watch the lottery. Although it's not very exciting, you just see numbers, pop up on the screen. But what happens is now there's a set number for each town until a town exhausts their wait list.
Right.
Once the wait list is exhausted,
And,
what will happen is we'll backfill with the other 4 towns.
Sure.
So, that being said, any fluctuation from the existing 43 students probably will not exceed any more than, if I had to guess, 3 to 5 additional students. So maybe Acushnet by the end of this might be at 48, but I don't anticipate you will see a spike, because what will happen is any reallocation will happen amongst the 4 remaining towns once a town has exhausted their wait list. Acushnet will not exhaust their wait list because they had 98 students apply.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
But what you could see happen is through that reallocation, that number could grow minutely, but it would never jump, where in the past, there was no rank and order other than someone earned their spot, and it was very much random because a student was in a position because of the 5 criteria used for their admission.
Sure.
We were in favor of that model, I'll say openly. I spoke at the Board of Education because I feel like it's good for students to work towards something.
Absolutely, yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't have say in the direction.
It's statewide.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does. I was just really wondering, like, so there was transparency, it is on the web or whatever?
Yes, and it's actually required by the state. So there's no, we have to have the lottery date posted, we have to publicize the lottery, we have to have a live introduction to the lottery, so all of that was posted online.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question, and just, because I was wondering myself, that, say there were some Acushnet kids who didn't unfortunately get picked, by the lottery, but they really wanted to go there. If some kids from other towns back out, and I think you already just spoke to that, right? So
Yeah.
that's the whole backfilling?
Yes.
Okay.
And students know exactly where they are on the wait list. That's one benefit, is we drew the entire pool with the exception of late applications. So a late application was an application that came in after the January date that was set. If it came in after that, the late application actually falls beyond the wait list. So we had over 300 applications, but 200 and I want to say 60 something were on time.
Yeah, because I mean, there was a decent amount of kids that applied,
Right.
and this percentage.
It's a big interest, and it's a growing interest.
Yeah, it really is. It's a, you know, I think finances are finite. And we always come to the table and understand that, not only here, but also in our advocacy at the state level. The Fair Share Act was created to hopefully help K through 12 education. The allocation of the Fair Share Act has been divided between transportation, K through 12, and post-secondary. But I'm hoping that somehow, some way, there may be ways to access Fair Share Act money. Into vocational education. Some of that has been done. We wrote for an expansion grant, an equipment grant recently. We're hoping that that will offset capital costs for our member towns in the form of an allocation to bring some of our shops up to modern day. But again, those are never guarantees. Those are competitive grants, and we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Can I just, as an aside, to this conversation, I'm the chair of the finance subcommittee, but as you know, I'm also the chair of the building committee. And when you look at that graph that shows year after year the interest of all of the kids that we cannot place because of the size of our school, I'll let the rest of it hang here, because you know what the next sentence is.
Yes.
Hence why,
And it-
and I understand that, but when you're turning away as many students who want a vocational education.
And this is just Acushnet.
Correct.
But it's similar, but these are your children.
Right.
Your children who want a vocational education, who we can't help in any way.
Is the lottery system, is that something that gets reviewed every year?
So this is the first year of the lottery. We were promised in August, when the commissioner started, that this would be the alpha run-through. There'll be a beta phase, obviously, where we can evaluate. My biggest source of advocacy right now, just to be transparent, is that I truly believe that we should be able to mirror that of a charter or a private school, and that siblings should be considered, because we're splitting up families. There are twins where, in some districts, where one twin got in and another twin didn't get in. And if it were an equity model, then if someone earned the right, they earned the right, and there's no argument there. And if a parent says to both twins, these are the 5 criteria, work your tail off so you have options, let the cards fall where they may. But when it's a random lottery, and a family has 0 control over the process, I struggle with that. And I'm open about that. And I don't think that we should be separating children in the form of a random draw. I think if it were equity-based, I would have no problem with that. The other issue I struggle with is, I do believe that for our staff members as well, they should have an opportunity to have their child considered, because just like at the private schools or the charter schools, that person's driving into work every day, and sometimes they might say, guess what? I had planned on my kid, I told my kiddo they had to work really hard to get in, otherwise I might have to leave, because I have to drive them to a different school in the morning, right? So there's a lot of considerations that I think could be refined. Those are 2 that have come to mind for me. And we've done a survey statewide through the vocational organization to gather feedback. As of yesterday, we had 36 responses, 20 from the 29 vocational technical agricultural schools, and another 16 from the comprehensive high schools who offer vocational programming and also have to have a lottery. So we'll review those and share those with the Department of Ed. But I do think that in its initial stages, it does warrant a review, Doc, to your point.
I guess that was gonna be my question, in your communication with other superintendents from both schools. And they're all, you guys are all on the same idea, right? You all agree about the need in the vocational and the lottery system,
We do.
how it needs to get modified. No? Okay.
Yeah, We actually did a presentation last night. We were with the Massachusetts Association of Vocational Administrators, which was why we couldn't be here. And we presented on the lottery because I've done some research that I shared with the group, with the membership. And I really feel strongly that there are common trends where the concerns lie, and where people have said these are some positive outcomes, right? Because it's not all negative, but
Sure.
there are concerns that seem to be patterned. And so we want to be able to address those pattern concerns.
Just real quick, I just kind of just glanced through this real fast. There's a cut in the graphics communications. Are they changing the program?
It's a
or-
retirement.
Okay.
So we had someone retire that was at Top Step, she'd been with the school district for
Over 30 years.
30 years.
Okay.
And so her replacement is coming in at a lesser salary.
Okay, so it wasn't like a changing program?
No, there's
It's
no,
just-
this budget does not present any increases in any staffing or any decreases in any staffing. So it's a level service budget with last year.
The salary contractual increases, it looks like it's like a standard 2% COLA for the most part, from what I see.
It's a COLA with steps and lanes for teachers. It's actually as well as AFSCME. So we are entering into negotiations with them. There's a placeholder right now for teacher and maintenance and custodians, COLA, step, and lane. It just gives you an idea of where we think we'll be at for next year. Very conservative for the groups.
Just to give you guys an idea of what, we're facing in
Yeah.
town. So Jamie Kelly is still the town administrator. He had sent a memo out to all our departments, so maybe in December. And what he wanted to see from all our departments was one budget that was basically level funded, and then the other one with department request, which would be, all the wish list
The
basically,
wants.
or, any contractual obligations too. So that's where our trouble lies, So the majority of your increases in your budget, because you're categorizing it as level service, are all your salary obligations,
Yes,
like you said, your
insurance,
your increase in health insurance,
Yeah.
which we're all facing,
transportation.
and transportation.
You say you're in the last year of that contract?
We're in our final year of our second option year with First Student Bus Company, so we'll do a bid, next year.
And who's the bus company?
First Student,
How many buses does
we have 12.
12?
Part of our regular day contract. And that can fluctuate year to year. We don't identify a bus to a town. We use, the bus company through our bid uses Versatrans, which is a software where they identify where the students are in our towns because it fluctuates so much year to year. One year you might have a big balloon in Acushnet and you might need an extra bus coming down Main Street. The next year it's Carver, and those kids are on the bus for an hour in the morning. It's too long.
Yeah, I think Acushnet, right, you guys pick up at Polk Park or something?
Yeah, we pick up a few different places, and we kind of, it's tough in Acushnet because there's two main roads, we're all funneling down those two main roads in the morning. But Carver is equally as difficult. Those kids can be on the bus for an hour, and that's a really long time in the morning for them. Some of them are getting on the bus before we're leaving for work in the morning, It's
Right.
early for a high school student. So we always pay attention to where they are and how to create the most efficient routes for them and for us. So sometimes we float one of those buses around, so it might be that, it comes through Mattapoisett, picks up Mattapoisett and Rochester students. We don't identify specifically to a town.
You guys fall under the same issues that the primary schools go for as far as minimum days per year, like the recent snowstorm, the effects of that.
Yes.
What's the plan? I mean, I'm just kind of wondering, like, during snowstorms.
Mhm.
How do you work with the surrounding towns, like if Acushnet cancels school,
Mhm.
but, you know, Rochester doesn't,
Right.
or?
Right.
This year with the blizzard,
Yeah.
there was a phone call, or there was a Zoom
Yeah, they
call,
had a meet there on the
and there were
day.
17 superintendents on the
Yeah.
Zoom call.
Yeah, you guys
All
called
talking.
it before, pretty much.
Yeah,
a lot of
we
the
spoke
towns
far in
did.
advance, and then what I did was, I actually came out, I have a truck, and I drove some of the roads on the second day to see what the egress looked like, and I can remember coming into work and coming down from Middleborough onto, I believe it's Spruce and then North Ave. And when I got onto Spruce, the car I was coming toward
There's no room.
was backing up, and then he waved me on, and I pulled into, an alcove, and then he passed me, and then I drove, and then I said, well, there's my answer.
Yeah.
The bus ain't gonna make
The
it.
bus isn't gonna make it.
No.
Yeah.
So, it was a few days of that, and then we were ready to go at school by Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
Our crew was amazing, absolutely amazing. I have to tip my hat to our facilities
Maintenance
crew,
and custodians.
because they really had everything cleaned up and ready to go by Wednesday morning. We could have had school, but the kids couldn't have come in because the roads were still not ready.
Right.
And that was no fault of anybody's, it was just that we were in blizzard weather, and it takes time to clear, right?
Are you guys in parity as far as, like, I know Acushnet, they're looking to do away, in the past, they've had the Good Friday off, but they're gonna be in school Good Friday.
We did not touch Good Friday because it's a contractual date with our teachers.
Okay.
And so we didn't touch Good Friday. We did have a full day PD that we actually had school on.
Mhm.
So
Because
instead of having,
Acushnet's going to the 25th.
we put in a waiver request to finish school on the 25th. We have 1,100 plus hours of school by the end of the school year. The requirement is 990. So as long as you're over the 990,
You're
you can
good.
submit a waiver.
Okay.
So we've submitted a waiver and we've requested to finish on the 25th.
That puts you in line with.
So just, I'm wondering, still kind of wondering, so, in thinking out of the box, you had mentioned like, we're just, we got two main drags and we're pushing it. Is it something that would be feasible to partner with our school for busing? So that they're running down the same roads,
Yeah.
grab Old Colony people,
No, for two reasons.
Yeah.
Age differential.
yeah,
I don't want young kids on a bus with high school kids. There's too many liabilities and they're exposed to too many things they shouldn't be,
yeah,
right? And then the other thing is they fall under different administration. So that would be a concern to me too, because if you have an issue, it becomes a muddied water.
yeah,
We don't even let kids ride on different buses.
okay. I was just,
So we'll tell our
I'm
own
trying to,
kids
you know
that
where I'm
they're-
going with this, I'm trying to save a little bit of bus money there.
Usually, if it's not part of the school district, so if the transportation, for instance, is out of district
Mhm.
or non-resident or some type of charter school, there is ride sharing that takes place, but
Okay.
not with regional schools, especially because we have to bid it.
Mhm.
So we would have to all get together at the beginning of the bid it together, so the contractor knows what they're getting themselves into, because it's a fair process for everyone.
Yeah.
And then the reimbursement of it.
Yeah, I can see like elementary
Make
not
it-
go,
make
but
it,
like the middle and,
Plus, it's contractual
you know,
concerns involved. too.
Yeah, and there's our bus company actually has a union, labor union. So if a student pays their bus company, all their bus drivers in accordance with the union contract. So
Mhm.
there's those things to consider, but really the reimbursement, how do you know what portion of the reimbursement is yours and what portion of the reimbursement is
right.
ours? So that would become,
Mhm.
I think, difficult when you try to report to DESI in the end of year report. Because that's how they decide what the reimbursement is going to be.
sort of just more of a headache. Okay, that's why it's-
Probably, yes.
It never hurts to brainstorm though, Eric, it never hurts.
No, it doesn't,
I
no.
mean, sometimes you say something and someone goes,
Sometimes-
hey, that might work, right?
Sometimes
Yeah.
share
You never know.
positions, like IT
Yeah.
positions,
Yeah.
or food service positions, you know, if
Right.
if you outsource your food service department, you have a director, and they're an FTE here, an FTE there. IT, I see it a lot with IT,
You had a
sometimes,
shared IT position in
Yeah.
town at one point, you know,
Yep.
Acushnet had the shared
Yeah.
IT with the town.
sometimes, other contracted services, maybe we have a vendor that works out really well for us, and you say, oh, we'd love to have that school psychologist come here as well and do testing here, and sometimes you kinda share that information, but transportation probably is too complicated.
Have you added any full-time employees?
No, there are no additions
So no additions.
to any staffing school-wide in this budget.
Is
No
it
additions.
Administration
Subtraction.
included.
Last year, we cut one.
You cut
We
one.
did not add that back. So
Right.
that person
That was from
was
a
cut,
classroom.
correct.
Okay.
So we cut a teacher
No
last year.
additions to administration.
No additions.
No, to answer your question.
Under the travel, you have,
Yes.
I'm gonna take it as that's just a placeholder because it's an even number, 50,000.
So, the situation that's happening with travel with Old Colony is that we have had a grant. It's called the REAPS grant,
Okay.
and it is a rural grant. And we have used that grant in the past for travel and conferences for teachers
Yeah.
who need something called high-quality professional development. It's part of our entitlement grant. So this grant helps us when we need to send teachers to professional development, say that they're newer or that they're trying to
These
learn.
coaches,
No.
curriculum coaches? Or
No,
Well, we don't have curriculum, we don't have any
Mentor.
curriculum coaches, but we
We
have.
have a mentor program required by the state, but no, not coaches. We don't have any type of contact teachers anymore in our contract. It used to be that we had coaches, but we don't anymore. No, this is for our new staff, for our experienced staff, for AP teaching.
Mhm.
There is a chance that that grant is not going to be funded anymore.
So this is kind of filling that gap.
It helps us ensure that we can still provide our teachers and supervisors with high-quality professional.
If you've ever heard of like the Research for Better Teaching program, that's something that we offer to staff. And so it's not a coaching, it's not a coach, but it is a program where you
Learn how
the
to
research
do that.
behind effective teaching.
Yeah.
So to your point, Eric, that's a model
Oh,
that
yes.
we utilize.
That's a good point, Shirley. The REAP grant is a federal grant, comes straight from the federal government.
Which is where the uncertainty is.
We're not sure how much that
Mhm.
will keep with that, so.
Fair.
Forecasts say 85%, you should count on maybe 85% of Title I funds, so that's gonna be probably an $8,000 cut for us. We've already looked at modification of after-school programs and what that might look like if we end up with an $8,000 cut.
Programming, yep.
Right, so we're trying to be anticipatory in our work and figure out what we'll modify,
Mhm.
in order to make those ends meet, but it's in
There's a lot of
terms-
unknowns right now.
Yeah, in terms of funding structures, there's a lot of unknowns.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So we're really hovering, right above minimum, in terms of what we put together.
Try to, if you look at the assessment sheet that, is in your packet, I think it's in the second page. After you start with all that finance assessment, yes, okay. That's really, we include the breakdown of percentage. Our budget subcommittee, when they meet, we really do, and I will say, they look at every single line of this budget. We talk about all of the detail, right down to, what contracts we're paying for, technology and everything. So the first page of the finance packet is a breakdown of the overall percentage increase. So it's not a breakdown of the dollar to dollar, budget to budget. It's a breakdown of that 4.8%, so that our committee can really see of our total, where's the bulk of the cost. The second page is the assessment sheet, which is really what our town administrators and finance committees want to see. What is our minimum local contribution set by the state? What is our enrollment for the year? What's the percentage? And what will our assessment be once the certified assessment is voted by the school in March? So you can see that here. Our goal as a committee and our philosophy is to try to get as close to the minimum local contribution variance as we can. The Acushnet's minimum local contribution increased $297,725. That's a little bit more than halfway down the sheet in that first column. That is set by the state. So at a bare minimum, that is what the state has decided Acushnet can pay towards Old Colony to educate our students. We try to get as close as we can to that number. Obviously, with Acushnet increasing 13 students, it weighs a little bit heavier on you anyway because Acushnet is the only town over 200 students in the school. And it just explains that. After that, it's really this what we get into, which is that line by line, which we were just talking about a little bit. You can also see the funds applied on the third sheet. those are directly from a cherry sheet right now. If the cherry sheet changes and chapter 70 funding increases, your fourth quarter assessment will be decreased.
I don't know what likelihood of that is.
You know, it actually has happened.
Has it
Yeah, over the last 5 years, we've decreased fourth quarter assessment probably at least 3 times. The only
I'm talking
problem-
about the cherry sheet.
So what ends up happening
State aid.
is they go from, so we're at minimum aid right now. It was $60 a student, $40,000 in total that we received in chapter 70. If it goes up to $120 a student, we will receive more in chapter 78. It's not a lot, it's minimum, you know, but it's better than nothing, right? So we decrease fourth quarter assessments. What's wrong with that? I've had some town administrators say, you know, we don't need you to decrease fourth quarter assessments, we've already set our budget. It's true, you've already set your budget, DOR's already come out, you've already set your tax rates, you've already received your certified assessment, it's going to flow free cash. It's not really much you can do about it at that point, but at least it's there. And you have it in, you know, in real time in your hands versus us certifying our free cash, excess of revenue, and us having our E&D be in excess of 5%, right? Then we're just sending the money back to you anyway. So we send it back in real time rather than wait.
So our overall assessment increase was 410,000, correct?
Yes, with 13 additional students, yes. And we've had some towns flux way in the other direction, as you can see. We had a
Rochester.
huge shift.
22 fewer students.
Huge shift this year, so.
And that's unusual for Rochester.
Very odd,
Hmm.
But
very
they're smiling
That's
this
your
year.
home, that's your hometown.
It is.
odd, yeah.
It's your home turf.
What do you think is behind that?
The shift
Yeah.
and the Rochester students.
A one-year aberration.
It is an aberration.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see, if I had to project what you're gonna see next year, you're gonna see a lesser number because of the lottery. I have to look at your senior class to see what the departure is, because there's a tributary in and a tributary out, right? But I don't mean a lesser number in terms of financial, I mean a lesser number in terms of enrollment, because you never know what the financial implications of that will be. But I have to look at your senior class to get a better idea. But if you have a big senior class, then sometimes what happens is a big senior class, because when you look at those enrollment trends, that incoming class is pretty small, if you go back to the graph, right? So,
Yeah.
it may not be a lot, but it's a small class, comparatively speaking.
On the flip side, Mattapoisett went up 6. I don't know that Mattapoisett has increased 6 students in
Ever.
1 year since I started in 2014. I don't think that's ever happened, and it was the first time the town administrator said, wow, like that's a hit for us. For OC, they never have their assessment increase to that degree, you know, it's usually around $30,000 that they increase year to year. So $160,000 for them, he was kind of like, wow, this is, and I think that will continue. You know, we may receive from the students.
That falls in line with the lottery, does it not? That's
Yes.
not there.
It does, because we use 2 numbers, right? We use the average of your last 3 classes at Old Colony.
Right.
And then the other thing we do is we use the proportional data, which looks at the aggregate 8th grade size.
Yep.
And what portion of that 8th grade your 8th grade class is, and then that's multiplied by the number of seats we offer. So that historical data will shape one piece of it, and then the predictive data, which is the 8th grade class, shapes another piece. Your predictive data brought your number down, your historical data is what's high.
Yeah.
Because attendance has always been high, and they're pushing it, right? But the predictive data, in terms of how big your 8th grade class was compared to the aggregate, really brought it down a little bit. The opposite's true for Lakeville. They had a much bigger 8th grade class, so they saw a bigger number and more growth. So we'll see what happens.
How does the predictive data work? Does it take into account like the existing enrollments in like the district schools, the contribution?
Total 8th grades and 8th graders in district, not necessarily in the school. They could be homeschooled. They could be
School age sending.
school age sending.
Okay, because I had heard some conversation saying that our 6th grade is pretty large this year.
You're what, 6th?
6th
Yeah,
grade.
So
That would be a couple years out,
That's
right?
interesting.
But that's what I'm wondering, is that, for your long-term projections and stuff, do you take that kind of information into account, where you break down,
Yeah.
going all the way back to like elementary, so you kind of
We try to
future?
keep an eye on the census, and
Yeah.
we can forecast somewhat.
Right.
But even forecasting doesn't, you know, when it comes down to it, it's just whatever the number is on October 1st is whatever we have to work with, right?
Kind of a good indicator too is when we provide the busing so that the students can come visit the school. You know, one year, a school may say, oh, we only need 2 buses. And then the next year, they might say, oh, no, we need 3 buses this year. We have, you know, 40 more kids that we didn't have last year. And so then when we contract for that busing with our bus company to ask how many students they have that are coming to Old Colony, that kind of gives you a good idea too. You know, you have 150 students coming to the school.
Acushnet's always been a really strong partner too, because some of the gaps that might exist because you don't have a 9 through 12, we've been able to fill at the middle school. So we'll have a STEM week, and because Acushnet doesn't have a high school to visit traditionally in town, we'll invite them to be a part of our STEM week because they wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise, right? So there are things that we're doing with Acushnet that build rapport. The unfortunate part is when you're turning it, you know, this year more than half the kids away, you get this pit in your stomach because, you know, in many ways, we've been home for a lot of these kids. And just a few years ago, we accepted close to 70%. So it's a juggle, right?
Yeah, it really is a shame, I mean, when you think about it. I mean, just the thought of that, I mean, you know, a kid has his heart set on, you know, doing this for the rest of his life.
Right.
And he wants to learn a trade.
Yeah.
And
They're stripped
he
of the
didn't-
power
he didn't
because
get
of
picked
a
for the
lot.
I mean, he or she didn't get picked for the lottery. I mean, it just doesn't, it rubs me the wrong way.
So it's
tell you
just a
something,
straight
Euro's
up
been
lottery,
very
like it
vocal.
doesn't take into
Seven-
account any academic, nothing,
Yeah.
dude.
Because
That's
they set
completely
such
out
a-
of the window.
So what they did, Eric, is they had this selective criteria that you could utilize, and when you looked at it, the bar was so low that to use that selective criteria would have literally maybe taken a couple students out of the mix, if that. I mean, some districts use the selective criteria to give kids what they call extra lottery tickets, and what they found was, of all of the kids and all of the criteria, about 1% of the kids didn't get an extra ticket because the state set the bar so low. And we've advocated and said, if you're gonna have selective criteria, let it mean something. If you're familiar with Senator Dooner, she was very vocal at the Board of Ed, and she spoke about the lottery and her opposition to the lottery, and she's a vocational school kid. She went to Norfolk Aggie, so she knows the intricacies of what we're up against. And I had a meeting with her on Monday morning and had a conversation with her, and she's been one of our biggest supporters in terms of having a voice around this, but we also understand the reality that once it becomes a regulation, we're into fine tuning now, right? So, you know, that we understand where we're at, and we have to look at the pain points and be able to address those. And right now, for a lot of the schools, the pain points, like I said before, appear to be sibling attendance and the attendance of staff. So,
What was the driver for this lottery system? What? Educate me, and yeah, I mean, is this, that's all it is politics.
Exactly.
Okay.
Politics. You hit the nail on the head.
All right, never mind, question answered, thank you.
yeah.
Just curious, no other member of town has, like school choice for other vocational schools, do they? I mean, the other member towns are locked in
The
to-
only time a student can attend another vocational school is if that vocational school district offers a program that Old Colony does not offer.
And
Which is
And it has to be a.
And
And?
they have to have accepted every member before they accept a non-member because of the new regs. So,
The new
So it's
zone.
because we cannot ever take an out-of-district student
Because you've got students
because we
waiting.
have such a big wait list
Yeah.
that we would be displacing our members, right?
Sure.
So that's the other piece. And to answer your question, where did this come from? There were a few schools that were not a mirror of their sending communities across the state.
It would
Maybe
pick the
3 or
cream of the crops and.
Maybe 3 or 4. I believe that instead of those schools being addressed, and I'll say this openly because I said it at the Board of Education,
Mhm.
instead of people addressing the issues at those schools, they painted the entire state with a brush And we are the recipients of that
Mm.
outcome, unfortunately.
That's how it goes.
Dominoes.
So going back to like the whole school district, so because my son, we moved here from 2012, and I don't think, were you?
Mm-mm.
You weren't, okay.
60 and I arrived.
So we tried to go to Old Colony because he transferred from Davis, we were down.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he was going to do his sophomore year,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't get in because you guys needed, like, I guess you guys have a pattern, like you have to have a certain amount of.
It depends on the shop.
Yeah, yeah, so anyways, so we were going back and forth, well, what do you want to do? And so he's like, well, go to New Bedford, and I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work because your shop isn't one of those, because you do graphic arts, he's a graphic arts kid. So the only thing that he could do is plumbing, right, because you guys don't do plumbing at the time. So that's following up on your conversation that you could do that.
Example.
But now that's changed now because now
Yes.
New Bedford has to accept all their kids, so,
Mhm.
yeah, so just kind of piggybacking off of him.
But to address your comment about plumbing, HVAC, and dental assisting are 3 of the programs that we had identified.
Mhm.
And really, plumbing and HVAC across the state are drawing so many opportunities for students upon graduation, they cannot fill the positions fast enough.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge demand for both of
Yeah,
those.
huge. So if he did go to plumbing, then I hope that he ended up in a really,
No, he ended up going to Fayetteville.
I know many people in local 12 plumber.
sure, oh, yeah.
I think the other shop is the steam engineering shop that New Bedford Volk
Yes,
offers, because they're tied in directly with Mass Maritime, because Mass Maritime goes there.
yes.
And Mass Maritime is a fantastic school.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
So kids that take up that trade at that school, they have some great opportunities ahead of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because of that. But let's say, you know, an Acushnet kid wants to take up that shop. What are the odds of them actually getting into that school?
Now?
It's gonna be highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Forget
I
it,
can't
it's not
even
gonna
fathom
happen.
it.
It's gonna be highly unlikely because they're taking New Bedford, Fairhaven, and Dartmouth first, you know, all those residents,
Mhm.
right? And none of it's based on merit now, so.
Which is why we wanna meet this demand, really. I mean, we wanna be able to meet the demand and the interest.
Mm.
And it's just, some of the, I mean, my son went to Bedford Oak, okay? And because his mom lived in Dartmouth. So he had the chance to go there. He wanted to take up plumbing, so that's why he went there. But I think in the beginning it was merit-based, and then it changed maybe by his sophomore, junior year. I witnessed the change, because I would go there and pick him up at school. And with the stuff I would see going on, like in the parking lots and stuff, there were some kids that did not belong in that school. We'll just flat out say it.
Mm.
They didn't deserve to probably be there either. But that's what the lottery enabled. So, I don't like it. I don't like the lottery system
Yeah, there's-
for that.
I
for
wouldn't,
that
I
reason.
would say you're not, you're probably in the majority in terms of how people feel, because the system as it existed was working very well,
Mhm.
I believe. And a lottery does not change representation. You don't have a lottery and all of a sudden solve the representation that exists within a school. It's just not the solution.
So when a percentage of kids that are chosen from the lottery, does any of their, like, history get looked at? Like, after they're in and they're picked by from the lottery system, are any of their, like, 7th, 8th grade grades looked at, attendance?
After a student is
conduct?
accepted,
Yeah.
we absolutely look deeply, we look
Yeah.
deeply into who they are, how we help them
Absolutely.
transition, right?
Yeah.
Because the goal is to make sure that every student who walks, every person who walks through our front door is treated like $1 million.
Well, hopefully,
And that's what they
hopefully
deserve,
they
right?
really wanna be there.
Right.
To learn
That's
and
the
train.
hope.
So, yeah, no,
But there's
So
not
now-
a review at this.
But there's not a review that would result, to put Shirley's point, in qualification or disqualification.
Just so we.
It's
we
really to
know what-
familiarize ourselves. We have transition meetings for so many students
We have,
over the
like,
course, from now
orientation.
until,
Summer, ninth grade
summer,
orientation.
and then in August, we'll have a 2-day orientation.
Was there ever discussion about maybe doing like 50% merit-based and 50% lottery? Was there ever that
So
discussion?
when Greater New Bedford Voc was targeted by the Department of Ed, they voluntarily took on a model similar to what you've just described, Doc,
Mhm.
but that was voluntary. As soon as this became regulation, there was no option to do that.
Because I mean, I think even that would be more fair,
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
you know, doing
Right.
it that way.
Right.
But anyway, so just, going back to the overall numbers, I mean, if you guys had to make any like cuts anywhere, I mean, where would you look if you had to make cuts in your budget, the way it sits right now?
I don't know, that would be a hard look, because we're at level service. It's not there's not, we didn't come in here with fat. We trimmed fat before we got here. And we came in conservative because of the landscape across the state, because conversations as early as October were, hey, you need to be conservative in what you put together. It wasn't, and every year those conversations exist, and then I talk with our locals and I say, hey, what's your number look like? And if someone tells me they're at 9%, in my head I say, well, I have to be way below 9%, right? Or if somebody tells me, or if I read the paper and I see that somebody's at 14%, and I say, oh, guess what, we're at 3.7 before insurance, then I say to myself, I think we're doing a really good job. I look
Well,
at
I
percentage,
think
right?
your percentage is pretty much similar to what it was last year, right?
Yeah.
It's very close.
Ballpark, yeah.
4.12 last year, I think.
That's full.
So it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.8.
And so in terms of, being able to do the work with what we have, that's really what we looked at. We know that grant funding could be an issue in some circumstances, and so to Sarah's point, when you see, the line that you asked about, in REAPS, we don't know if that will come in. And per the contract, we still have obligations to cover levels of professional development as we're able. And I do think that that's an important piece of the work that we do. But we didn't come in here, last year I could have told you that the area where we cut was what we had planned to cut, if we had to. And I still have a heavy heart about that, because that's someone's livelihood.
Mhm.
And I had hoped in my head we might be able to bring them back this year, and we were unable to do so, because we know that the budgets are tight. But if anything, the flip side of that would have been I wanted to bring that person back, because they have callback time, and that time will expire. But realistically, I think that we came in at a number that we felt was a responsible number, and then simultaneously pretty conservative, even in terms of what we put aside for, a negotiation that has not taken place yet. We were very conservative, very conservative. So
Is teachers' contracts, is that
unresolved.
coming up,
We're
or?
in the last year of their current
Last
contract,
year,
and
current contract.
we'll begin negotiating, and, that's for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just, looking at the details, but you can see that, it looks like most of the increases are contractual increases, fixed cost,
Right, exactly.
health insurance, all the usual suspects, so to speak. And, I've been doing this a long time, and I was sitting in a meeting with our own public schools with our vice chair, Sue Delgado, it was last week. And it's just, it's so frustrating, because of what we have to deal with, not getting enough Chapter 70 funds,
Right.
you know?
You got $40,000.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Mhm.
You got 40,000.
And I think our schools are getting like, what, 150? I think that's the increase.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, these officials at the state level, they need to get a
Well,
grip
funds are finite, right?
on
So
that.
I had a meeting
It's
with.
very frustrating for me.
Mhm. Especially when the state keeps increasing the minimum local contribution across the board, you know?
Well, what's happening is, more and more is falling all on the backs of the taxpayers.
Yes.
And I speak to that all the time
Yes.
as a finance committee member.
Mhm.
And I've seen it getting worse and worse.
Mhm.
20 years, 21 years, I've been doing this, and
Yeah.
when you speak to your town administrator, and it's like, man, it's not gonna be any better for the next 3 to 5 years, and it's like,
The last 4 years
it's
have
like,
been
this is so frustrating,
5
it's just like
years.
banging your head against the wall.
post, post-COVID.
And that's why we've, you know, I think if you look at a 10-year record from us, there's never been an additional ask for capital as a warrant,
Next question.
as a warrant item. There has never been, in 10 years, we have never asked for an additional warrant item for capital because we chase competitive grants.
Yep.
And we are very aggressive when we chase competitive grants. And so I know that, you know, you do those things because it's the right thing to do, but I think I am proud to say
It has made a huge
it has made a huge difference for our member towns because you don't see millions of dollars that
Yeah.
we've secured through grants that saves our taxpayers, right?
Sure.
But at some
Absolutely.
point, the levy has to
Right.
break because we say, you can only do so much, right?
Right.
And that's really the piece moving forward that we have to be able to contemplate is what will that look like as we face more and more. You know, when we pick up, this morning as I'm driving into the driveway at 6:15 and Cam Bakayaki is passing me in his truck filling potholes.
Our driveway looks so bad right now.
Right? Filling potholes, and he says to me, you know, I got 500 pounds to fill potholes, and what we really need to do, Aaron, is we need to fix all the asphalt in this lot. And I said, can we pause for a minute? Because, you know, it's one of those things where you have to.
Well, I was gonna follow up on my questions from the building. We're going with the hot items that, you know, you talk about your water tank. I mean, is there any,
We are
obviously,
seeking,
none of that is in
No.
there.
none of, so I'll tell you right now, none of that is in here because we are seeking funding from outside sources to
Yeah.
try and do what we can in the short term,
Okay.
because we understand that we don't wanna tap taxpayer money
Yeah.
when we're looking at a revote.
The
We
make,
don't.
we understand
That's-
that
that's
the
really
make and.
appreciated.
It's the
Yeah.
right thing to do, right? We have to look at a revote, and if a revote doesn't pass, then we have to understand there's no zero cost option. And Doc and I sat together
Mhm.
and we talked about the fact that what we didn't articulate very clearly is that there's no zero cost option.
Mhm.
And so we have to really be aware that if, for some reason, we end up in a situation where we have to address these things, that's when the levy breaks. And we have to start to come to people and say, hey, listen, this is our capital list,
Yeah.
and it can't exceed $5 million over 3 years because we're
Right.
the triggers. And if you read the newspaper about what Somerset just went through, because they're looking to repair a building, but they hit triggers, and now they have to look at ADA accessibility and all sorts of other things, it's real, right? So we want to put that on pause to the extent we're able. We're going to cover as much as we can through grants, and we've written them, and we're very
It's the
optimistic about what's
critical
coming our way.
items, yeah, yeah.
But it's critical mass because after the fall, we'll have a better idea of where we're at, and we'll figure out what the right thing to do is. But it'll be a collaborative conversation.
Well, and it'll be important for all the residents to understand that there are all these potential fixes that are gonna have to take place.
Right.
And what does that equate into a dollar amount and how it's gonna affect them? That's the kind of thing that residents are gonna need to see,
Right.
so they can make a comparison
Exactly.
and then make the decision, you know?
Yeah.
So it'd be more information, you know, this next time around.
Right.
We also, I want to say, understand that, and we're thoughtful about how we build our budget. Once we build our budget and we assess the town, that is subject to 2.5. We can't, if we build in capital like that into our budget, that does not help our towns fund that.
Mm.
It actually hurts how we
Right.
fund it. So we have a very small holding, it's $65,000. And we've rotated that every year since 2014, which is we purchase 1 or 2 pieces of equipment. We have a holding for technology where we rotate our technology needs. So every year we say, okay, what is the next piece of equipment we need? What is the next piece of technology we need? How do we buy a vehicle for our maintenance department so that they can plow snow? Right, we've done those things through that.
How often do you
It's a
refresh your
spiral
plan?
plan, right? So it's spiral plan.
Yeah. How often do you refresh your plan in terms of like computers, laptops, like?
So we have a huge technology rolling plan because we have so much technology in the building. We buy at least 1 Chromebook cart a year and rotate out the
Is it a one-to-one?
Chromebooks.
Do you do one-to-one?
We do not have a one-to-one policy or model, but we have enough technology in the building to supply all students with some piece of technology.
Right, it may not be like the latest thing where it's sort of might
Well,
be.
and we don't
hand-me-down
actually
type stuff,
have
but yeah.
that one-to-one policy where we're monitoring what that, we don't take it home at the end of the day. Because that's a whole nother level of monitoring that would need to be done.
So kids can be BYOD, bring their own devices, I guess, and.
They don't need to bring their own.
They don't need to, but they can
They
take it
have
off the cart,
access.
but they put it back.
They
They don't bring
leave-
it home.
At the end of the
Okay.
day, they leave it with us. It has everything it needs so that we can monitor their work during the school day. So but the technology that we have in the shops, it takes that to a whole nother level. Graphics has Macs.
Mhm.
They need those Macs to be a certain make and model in order to run software that you need to
Yeah.
run in order to learn the
Photoshop
curriculum
and all
that's
that.
required, right? So there's this, that is a whole nother beast which we could dive into deeper, but I don't think that people wanna get into.
Because I was just kind of curious about like the one-to-one thing, because our school is a one-to-one.
Yeah, we do not have a one-to-one policy, so
Yeah.
they're allowed to use the technology while they're in school, it's
So
monitored.
if a kid
while
comes
they're
with a
in school.
MacBook or whatever,
Nope,
they're not allowed to use it.
they would not need to use.
They wouldn't need to, because
technology
we
in
have the
school.
computers
We have the
available.
technology they need.
Yeah, but,
Whatever they need, we have for them.
so you guys have MacBooks or Chromebooks or whatever. that
We
you-
buy Chromebooks for the students
Yep.
to use on a regular basis, so that's what's used in classrooms and shops and related. The only shops that have higher technology are ones that need it for the curriculum that's being taught for the shop. So business technology,
CAD.
computer science, CAD,
Graphics.
and tech, yeah, and graphics. They have the higher.
So if you got a kid that goes into graphic arts, he has a MacBook that his parents
That
gave him
is
for Christmas,
Every there,
he could bring it and use it.
he doesn't need to.
They could, but they don't
They
have to.
don't
have to.
Because what they're
Okay.
providing.
We have 30 in the shop, and that's what they use when they come in for the day, for those 2 weeks that they're in shop, and then when they go to academics, they get a Chromebook. That's available for math for academics, so just an example.
We all know technology is expensive.
Yes,
And it adds a lot to budgets.
every year we're buying something for someone for tech. We keep rolling that through, and we monitor it through the vocational coordinator, through advisory committee meetings, those are extremely important, through our technology director.
Perkins grant is a vocational grant that helps us to fund some of this spiral planning,
Mhm.
right? So
Yes.
these are all things that we can tap into, so that we don't pass it on to
Yeah, and we plan,
the
yeah,
taxpayers.
plan.
Yeah, 'cause just for example, I mean, I could see that the contracted services technology line item
Mhm.
went up 35%. So
Yeah.
that ties into, what is that related to?
Contracted services for technology are all of the services that the school is using to run our school. So our
Licensing.
student management software, our teaching, evaluation software,
Frontline.
yep, frontline for time and attendance and accrual so that our staff can see how much time they have left in the year. All of the contracted services in the entire building, are charged to that line. We're a small one building school, so that's how, we built the budget for that. If you wanted to see more detail for it, we could definitely.
I mean, so.
Our budget subcommittee has already seen all the vendors and that are charged to that line, but we'd be happy to provide it.
So I'm assuming that there were like a bunch of renewals that all took place
Yes.
at once.
Mhm.
Absolutely, well,
That's why,
not
and
just
that was true,
renewals,
that's what
but
drove some of the
right,
increase.
contracted services are up, right? To have someone oversee,
Yeah,
your, say your firewall,
Mhm.
our, payroll software.
yeah, you need
partners.
one more security
Yeah.
because of all the hacking
Yes.
that's going on up there,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I get that too.
Everything is included in that line, so those are, contracted services that align with, Raptor.
Raptor, like when you come into
So when
the
you come
front
in,
office and you scan
you
your
have your
ID
ID
for security,
scanned.
that's
Yeah.
a, obviously a software.
checks on that
Tax
person coming in the
service, yeah.
building, that's an additional
Falls
cost.
under that
Yeah,
line.
so all of those costs have
Yeah.
gone up, and supply costs have gone through the roof.
Yes.
I mean, our postage should see me. Like,
Well,
don't you
the
dare
IT
go
is
to
going up
another
also
thing.
because the RAM prices and
Anything
the
else in
hard
the
drive
mail?
prices, because of all the AI data centers,
Correct.
there's a huge shortage in RAM prices and stuff like that that's going
Yeah.
on right now. But
It's-
yeah, that's,
The other thing we do is we do ask if there's a software that's used, I'll say to a director, could you please survey the staff? I need to know what percentage of staff is using this.
so
Mhm.
you do
And
an
if they-
internal audit about it.
We do, so we
Yeah.
do an internal audit, and as recently as a couple days
Regularly,
ago, I had
yeah.
someone say they're not gonna renew this contract,
Yeah.
right? So that's a savings
That'll be a
right there.
savings to that line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a $3,500 savings on that particular software because they said the teachers aren't using it the way they thought they would, right? So if we're not getting the use, then we need to do the audit. So we don't wanna invest in something we're not utilizing
Right.
either.
Sure, constantly reinvestigate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always, yeah,
You guys
especially,
do Microsoft 365 or are you doing Google?
yeah, we were Google School.
Yep.
Google School, we have to buy Adobe licenses and Microsoft licenses depending on the shop.
Our business tech is Microsoft,
Yes.
and they compete. in
So like the
Microsoft.
administrative side is
Google,
Google?
Google,
Yeah.
free is fun.
Business tech competes on the state and national level
Yep,
with Microsoft.
So we buy the Microsoft licenses for business tech.
good.
Well, I always appreciate, you know, your detailed line item budget.
Mhm.
And I've always asked our schools to model that after yours.
Thanks.
Because we always ask for that from our schools, and, you know, you always provided that with us, so I said, look, you know, give us what Old Colony gives us, so we can see where every dollar's being spent.
You guys always come in prepared.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
So that's, you know, that's appreciated, you know, by
Good
us
job,
on
I feel.
the FinCom, for sure. So I think you guys, you know, you did a great job. And,
Thank you.
you know, we know times are difficult right now, you know, for everybody, so.
Well, we tried to come in and shape the number before we get to you. We always
Right.
do that.
Sure.
You know, the
Yeah.
number starts higher. We were over 6 at first.
We were at 11.
Yeah, we were at 11.
Well, I had,
Didn't
But
pass
that was
muster.
also included higher, we had to estimate insurance because we didn't have it yet, right?
yes, we did.
So I mean, just,
There's always.
Well, we
have
done that,
to
we
be
went through
aware.
that our own on town side where
So-
we don't know the insurance up.
but we were able to get way down, and
That's
that's
a
good.
wild card.
But I just to be real, I mean, we were guessing at insurance at one point, so that's why we're at 11.
That 11% represented what you were talking about, the wants.
Yep,
And it didn't pass through,
the screen.
the screening. So it's like, no, you know, we can't go forward with that. And then Aaron's
We
correct,
appreciate
it
that.
came down to
We
like
appreciate that.
7%. And then it was like,
Yeah,
and they just worked at it.
we're gonna share this with all our FinCom members, and I
Yep.
think, you know, once they look at it, I think they're gonna be pretty pleased. from
Pete's seen it,
what they
I know, because he joined us,
Oh, yes, he came.
so.
And he has some great questions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pete's a
Yep.
very good addition, and he's great as the liaison to Old Colony.
He's
So,
always with us.
yeah,
Thank
he provides some very thoughtful questions
He did.
Yeah, he did.
on our FinCom. So, yeah, he's great. I mean, all our members are, really,
Mm-hmm, yeah.
except these two guys, not only.
Motion to resign my.
And then, you know, we're not having this in the police department because you guys are in trouble.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the
My
town
daughter
hall.
asked me, what
we
do you,
couldn't get
my
the town hall
daughter said, what are you
meeting room.
doing?
You should try to
We're
get
in the
it.
police
She did,
station.
she said, why at the police
Okay.
station? She called
Right?
me, I'm at a finance meeting.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So, yeah, let's,
That's
just
so
want to put
funny.
that out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's always nice to have some, you know, some brevity in these meetings
Yeah,
because.
right.
You just go across the hall and just have a dispatch and, you know, have them go walk up if things don't go well.
She had a laugh with
At least
it.
we know we're safe here.
Yeah.
You know, so it does, I feel safe.
Safest building in the building, of this town.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, if anybody has any questions,
I'm all set.
they'll, you know.
Just so
Let us
that
know,
you're
yes.
aware, the school committee will be voting on this budget next Wednesday,
Okay.
okay?
We'll have a public hearing.
And that's
Yeah, the
tied
public
to the
hearing
early
and then-
Carver meeting. So
Yep,
Carver's
perfect.
meeting is in early
For
April.
early.
So we have a requirement to get numbers
Them,
out
their
before
certified
they
To
assessment.
meet,
get this finished.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why we do that,
Yeah.
just so, just
You
so
guys-
people understand the rationale for that.
You guys meeting with, our board of selectmen yet, or?
I
have you
talked
got-
to David,
Yeah.
this morning, I talked to Bob Hinckley last night,
Okay.
on the phone.
Jamie at all?
I called Jamie, I didn't hear back, Kevin's phone is full, but I did shoot him a text.
Okay.
But I have reached out to everybody on the select board,
Okay.
and I just told them if they'd like us to come in, we're more than happy to, but I also explained that our March 25th meeting happens when it does
Yeah.
because of the Carver
Yeah,
meeting.
I really.
So-
Well, I mean, I can share.
And they typically do invite us in, so we didn't get a call this year, but, like I said, we're happy to come in at any time, because I know your meeting's their meeting is June 15th.
Have you shared any of
Our
this
town meeting's
information with the Board of
15th, yeah.
Selectmen?
We shared it with Jamie Kelly, every time
Oh,
we share,
so he.
we share with every town administrator.
Alright, so they
We
have,
hope
all-
that
they
they're
have,
sharing
they
it.
should have all the numbers then
Yeah.
that they can look at, and
Yeah.
if they have any questions, I'm sure they'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
And then we're in that transition phase too with the new TA
Right.
coming on, I think as
Right.
of April 1st.
Right.
So I believe Mr. Kelly's gonna stay on, during this transition to get us through our town meeting.
Town meeting, right.
Because it's unrealistic to expect somebody new
It's a huge task
who doesn't know anything about our town to come in
in the spring.
and try and figure all this out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys for
I
coming.
did
Thanks
call
for
and
having us.
welcome
Thank you.
your new town administrator.
You did?
I called him on the phone, I
Okay,
just
good,
welcomed
just
him
to-
and said when he's in town,
Yep.
if he'd like to come in, and you're more than welcome to join us, because I know we sometimes do lunch together, but anyone who would like to come in and have lunch and just, we'll give him a tour, so he can see the building.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a good idea,
Yeah.
you know, so you can kind of get acclimated and get up to speed as quickly as possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I think we are good.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Good night.
Thank you.
Appreciate